Hey guys and girls, I'm back today with another news update on the Xbox One. So it's been maybe 2 or 3 days since the actual reveal, and there's been a lot of new information up on the internet since then. So I just want to cover some of the main things that have been revealed about the new Xbox One, because I do think it's important that you guys, get all the information that you need about both of the next generation consoles, so that you and I can make an informed decision about which console we're going to buy, or if we're going to choose to purchase the next generation console. So anyway, let's get straight to it. So some new information. There's a couple of questions that I posed in my last video about always connected online, pre-ordered games, backwards compatibility, and actually those questions have been answered by some key kind of journalists that have been asking the Xbox PR team some of these questions. So anyway, the first one that I'm going to touch upon is the internet connection. So it has been revealed, and this information I read on many different sites. I've been checking out Kotaku and IGN for up-to-date information, and there was an interview that was done I think by Wired, and they interviewed the Microsoft Vice President, the UK Vice President Phil Harrison, to ask him about the whole internet thing. And what he basically said was that to play single-player games, the Xbox One does not have to be connected to the internet all the time. So that's good. There are going to be some single-player games where you do not need to be connected to the internet. But he did say that you will need internet connection. So the Xbox, he said, the Xbox One would have to connect to the internet at least once every 24 hours. And that, if you can't connect to the internet, during that period, that there are certain functions in the Xbox One that you will be unable to use. Of course, you also need to connect to the internet to register and activate your games as well. So for those people that have no internet connection, and for things like people like on military bases that currently play the Xbox 360, you will not be able to play the Xbox One, and you will need to subscribe or purchase some form of internet connection. So that's that element to it. There are, as well as that, there are pros and cons that I've discovered about the Xbox 360. One of the good sides to this focus on the internet connection and the use of the cloud is apparently in multiplayer, for multiplayer games, there will be completely game dedicated servers. And this information is good news, because I like to play multiplayer games, and one of the biggest issues that I have with multiplayer games is that there's this P2P, person-to-person hosting that happens in multiplayer games. And if you are trying to play with people from a different region in the world, that often creates a lot of problems and issues and lag and timing issues and loss of connection issues and all sorts. So I am very happy that this there is talk of game dedicated servers, which will make those multiplayer games a lot more reliable and a lot faster and a lot better. There hasn't been much clarification with regards to it. I don't know whether that will be only Xbox made, Microsoft only titles, or whether that's going to apply to third party games or not, or whether hosting and organizing multiplayer games is going to be Microsoft or third party. Anyway, that's not clear yet, and hopefully there'll be more information with regards to that at E3. The other thing as well about the online thing is Microsoft have said that your Xbox Live Gold account is transferable, and that will be transferred across to the new Xbox One. So everything, your Microsoft Gamer points, your reputation, your friends list, absolutely everything is going to be transferred to the Xbox One. And they have apparently increased the friends cap to 1,000 people, so you can have, you know, a limit of 1,000 people as your friends. So that's good in to a degree in some ways. But there are some questions and some concerns that I have with regards to this focus upon the cloud. There is some positive talk about this idea of dynamic gaming and dynamic achievements, where, you know, like one of the big things about the 360 which made it, you know, really fun was, you know, the achievements that you could aim to get. And they're talking about, you know, upgrading that and making it dynamic, in that your achievements will change as you play through the game, and they will, like, you know, and, you know, as well, they will respond to your gameplay. So for example, if you were playing like a racing game, apparently the new cloud system can take information from your friends and create some kind of like ghost of your friends within your main game. So rather than playing against, like, you know, AI, you're actually going to be playing against, you know, relatively real characters within the actual game. That sounds really exciting and really positive, and I like that. But I am concerned about what this is going to mean for, you know, games that are released on release date and DLC. One of the major things with developers now is they have to complete a game to a time limit and put it, you know, all the completed game onto a disc. Now, this new focus on the cloud, on the online system, does that mean that developers, like, it's good for developers in that they're not going to have as much pressure, and they're going to be able to produce a lot more content, you know, post-release, whether it's DLC content or whatever. But is that going to encourage developers not to complete a game, and that, like, you will, when you download a game, you will receive like maybe a 60 or 70% completed game, and like as you play through it, there'll be more downloads made available to complete that main story? Now, I'm worried about that. I'm concerned about that and how that's going to go, because, you know, the issue that we have currently with the current DLC is that a lot of game developers are removing content from their main game that should be in their main game and offering it as downloadable content. And I'm worried that that is only going to increase and become worse with the, you know, the new cloud system and the new emphasis on, you know, download and online connection. So I'm worried about that. The other thing that I mentioned in my last video was about pre-owned games, and I did talk about how I had, you know, a concern, or a possible cynical concern, that Microsoft were going to ban pre-owned games. And it looks like, from the news, from the information, it looks like my concerns were valid, which is really disappointing. So from the sounds of it, when you buy a game, you have to completely install that game onto your hard drive. Now, the hard drive is about 500 gigabytes on the Xbox One. And if you have to install every game, that hard drive is going to fill up very, very quickly. And once you install this game, then when you buy the game, you are actually given a one-time activation code, and at that point you have to go online, and your game is connected to your Xbox Live account, and you input this activation code, and it's a one-time code, and then basically you can play that game anytime without the disc, just playing it from the Xbox One. You can also play it from any Xbox One by logging into your own account, and you can play it that way. So it does make things like, you know, playing games at your friend's house a lot more convenient. But it does make purchasing pre-owned games a lot more difficult. And Microsoft have said they're going to give you the option to buy and sell online pre-owned games, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm also not sure how that's going to work in terms of the code, because like when you buy a pre-owned game, do you also have to pay extra money for the code to connect it to your Xbox Live account? I'm not sure how that's going to work. But what they have said is that You will no longer be able to lend games to your friends, or if you do want to lend a game to your friends and you want to connect that game to a second Xbox Live account, that person is going to have to pay a kind of pre-owned fee, which will pretty much effectively be the cost of the game had you purchased it yourself brand new. So it does look like Microsoft are really trying to stamp out the whole pre-owned industry, which is a huge problem, and I think a huge mistake on their part. Sony have not mentioned anything about this, and I do not understand why Microsoft are going down this route, because in my opinion, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. You know, a lot of gamers will buy games brand new, but a lot of gamers buy things secondhand, and this allows them to play a wider variety of games and to purchase more games than possibly they would do, because, like, you know, if the game is a good game, I am willing to pay, you know, the £50 that this game costs on release. But there's been a lot of releases currently that have been charged for £50, and in my opinion were not worth it. So I would tend to buy those pre-owned as opposed to full price, because if given the option to buy it full price, I would just choose not to buy that game. So I think that it's a mistake on Microsoft's part. I don't know whether this is finalized, whether it's, you know, definitely decided, but I think it really is something that Microsoft should reconsider, and it is something that will make many gamers very unhappy and very annoyed and very frustrated, and it does make Microsoft appear to be, you know, greedy and you know, money grabbing, you know, not really relating to their gamers. A little bit like EA, you know, all they're bothered about is the money that they can get, you know, from the games when they're purchased, and that is, you know, not good. That's a big issue. So the pre-owned restrictions is a huge news. It's huge news, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what Microsoft, you know, say at E3 with regards to that. And I am hoping they will change their mind about that, or they will adjust that so it's not as bad as it sounds. The third thing which I did mention was the whole issue of the Xbox One not being backwards compatible, and it is not back. It's been released that it is not backwards compatible, so you will not be able to play your Xbox 360 games, even your Xbox Live DLC content that you downloaded. That also is not going to be transferable and playable. So if you intend to buy an Xbox One, I suggest that you definitely hold on to your Xbox 360, and that's what I will definitely be doing myself. And that's a shame. They even did say that they're not even, as it currently stands, they have not even considered the option, or they're not offering the option right now to download Xbox 360 games, you know, via the Xbox Marketplace, which is different to PlayStation, because Sony have said that the PlayStation 4, that on the PSN you will be able to download PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 3 video games to play on your PlayStation 4. So currently, with regards to backwards compatibility, neither next-gen console are backwards compatible, but currently the PlayStation 4 does seem to have the edge with regards to this. And so so that is a worry. You know, if you have an Xbox 360, are they going to continue to manufacture new Xbox 360s, or are they going to continue to offer, you know, technical support if your 360 goes down? Because this is one of the reasons why gamers do like backwards compatibility, because if you have, you know, all your Xbox 360 games, and let's say your 360 gets, you know, the red ring of death, what do you do then? You have all these games and you have no console. And if Microsoft stop manufacturing that console, it's much harder to get hold of that console and you know, and play your games. And the 360 has had many really excellent games that I want to continue to play through again and again. So the backwards compatibility issue for me is a big deal, and I do look for a console to have backwards compatibility. It is one of the big things that I do think about when considering purchasing a game. The Microsoft have also said that the Xbox One will also not be compatible in terms of current gaming headsets. So the new Xbox One will have a kind of special proprietary data port that uses a new unique headset, which will be produced and manufactured predominantly probably by Microsoft, or maybe they will hire a third party to make that. But it does mean that any current gaming headsets are not usable. So, you know, really good game headsets like from Astro Gaming or Turtle or Beach or Triton, those are not going to be usable with the Xbox One. So you will have to probably purchase a Microsoft brand Xbox headset. And, you know, I think this is one way for Microsoft to try to, you know, recapture control on the kind of accessory industry with regards to gaming and the Xbox One. Another thing that I am disappointed about with regards to the news is it does look like the Kinect, you know, part of the Kinect function with the Xbox One is mandatory, and that the Xbox One will not work unless the Kinect is attached and plugged in, and that apparently the Kinect will stay online all the time. So even when your Xbox One is turned off, the cameras will still be recording or will still hear you, and the voice activation will still be on, so that, you know, as soon as you say Xbox on, it turns off immediately. I don't like that. The thought of the camera, of the Kinect camera or sound always recording, always being on, always being connected online, that for me just sounds incredibly dodgy, and it just sounds like that could be used, you know, by private companies or even the government, you know, quite wrongly, and it just sounds quite disturbing, to be fair. And I also, it does mean, I think, that, you know, the gaming industry is going to change, because now game developers, you know, previously not everybody owned a Kinect, so the game developers had to, you know, release games that would take that into consideration and that would, you know, would accommodate those people without a Kinect. But now that the Kinect is mandatory, this means that game developers will always have the option to include Kinect kind of voice recognition and, you know, movement recognition within their games, and I don't like that. I really am not a huge fan of the Kinect, and, you know, Microsoft over the past 3 years have released awful Kinect games. They've rushed them out and they really have not been good, and I don't know, maybe I'm just being cynical. It could be used, if the Kinect is used very well within games, then it could make for more inclusive, interactive, engaging gaming, absolutely. But, you know, I'm worried, and really I'm not that interested in the Kinect, and I'm really not that kind of gamer. So, you know, the whole not having a choice in whether to use the Kinect or not for me is really frustrating and annoying, and it's something I don't like. I would rather have the choice to use the Kinect or not use the Kinect, rather than having the Kinect forced upon me. So that's my opinion on that. So that's the current news as it currently stands about the Xbox One. Just some more information on it. So, you know, currently it you know, a lot of the news does not sound good, and you know, there have been some polls, you know, done about how people have reacted to the Xbox reveal and to the news that has been revealed about the Xbox One. And there was a poll done by the IGN, the UK IGN poll, and they asked 76,000 people, what did you think of the Xbox One reveal event? And that poll is quite telling. About 25% of the people responded positively, and about 75% of the people that responded to that poll said that they were disappointed. Of that 75%, about 47% said that there were many elements that they were just not interested in at the Xbox reveal, and about 29% said that it was a disaster. And I'm sure, I think Microsoft probably are quite surprised in terms of the reaction that they have gotten. And hopefully, I'm going to stay optimistic, and I'm hoping that at E3, Microsoft will be revealing a lot more games. It will be a lot more games orientated, and we'll finally get to see, these kind of new exclusive IPs coming to the Xbox One, and hopefully they'll give more concrete information about some of these issues that I raised in this video about pre-owned games, connections to the internet, backwards compatibility. Hopefully they'll give a lot more information, and a lot more information that reassures fans and gamers. So I've not made my final decision on the Xbox One yet, because it would be unfair to do that, and I am going to wait until E3, where when Sony and Microsoft reveal a lot more information about their next gen consoles, and I'll wait until after E3 to pass my final judgment about those consoles and whether I'm going to purchase them and which one I will choose. So those are my thoughts anyway, so I'm going to finish this video here. If there's any more information in the future, I will upload more videos in the future about that. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Please post a comment. Please like if you found this video useful or interesting or you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you guys next time right here on my channel, next time on my next video. Alright, have a great day, guys, and I'll catch you later. Okay, bye. See you guys.